Hello to everybody today, all my chatters, all my lurkers, and all my Memorex peeps that watch it later. Glad to have you with me today on the 17th day of August, 2016. It is a pretty day out today. It was a little overcast this morning, but the sun is shining pretty, and the breeze is non-existent today. It's nice and still out there. Probably be a good day for me to get out and work in the garden. I think temperatures are in the 70s, so I may get out there and stir around and get a little bit done out there because it's supposed to rain again tomorrow. Oh my goodness. Well, I'll tell you what, we've got a lot of news going on. I will start off by saying, though, that anybody that is into Dwayne Hartman, I did an interview with him a while back. I did a session with him last night, and I've got it up on my other channel if you'd like to view that. And a link to my other channel is in the description of the video. So you can view that later today if you'd like to. That way you get to see what actually goes on in one of Dwayne's sessions. And then we had a little interview after it was over with, so, you know, it's all good. Let's see here. I've got a lot of news that I want to bring to you. And, well, I guess, you know, just pick one, start anywhere. We'll start with this one because this one really honked me off. Oh, my goodness. This is off of AEWS 24 News, and it's Joe Biden exposes military aid with nuclear codes during campaign rally for Hillary. Vice President Joe Biden revealed during campaign rally that he had military aid with the nuclear codes present at the event. There's a guy that follows me right back here, has the nuclear codes, Biden said, turning and pointing. God forbid anything happened to the president and I had to make a decision, the codes are with me. After Biden bragged about how the nuclear codes were with him, he said that Trump was not qualified to know the nuclear launch codes. He said that Trump was not worthy of being the commander-in-chief, reminding the audience that his son back. Now, who does that? I mean, does this man not even have one brain cell left that you don't stand in a public place and point out who has the nuclear codes? Are you kidding me? To me, it seems treasonous, but maybe your viewpoint's different. I don't know. Lord have mercy. Will he never shut up? Wow. Okay, the next one we've got here is off of constitutionrising.com, and this one says Soros funding Hillary Clinton illegal alien turnout and vote fraud campaign. George Soros funding Clinton election fraud initiative. Get out the foreign squatter vote campaign aimed at illegal aliens. Not too long ago, when illegal aliens were deported as the logical remedy for their violation of the law and being illegally present in our country. That time, what might be described as good old days when America was America, is now a little more than fond memory. Now that criminal subversives occupy the White House, the State Department, and Homeland Security, the illegal alien squatters are treated better than American citizens. The offenders against the American people and our nation are symbolized by the appointing of an illegal alien by Hillary Clinton to head her new election fraud operation. It is designed to mobilize the millions of illegal aliens inside the United States to violate federal election law by voting and steal the election for their mutual illicit benefit. It's just another way, or just another of the many ways George Soros is buying the destruction of our nation. The operation has been given a Spanish title, the language of most illegal aliens in America, since it is directed at motivating foreigners to commit election fraud. It will only be effective if it is in the language they speak, that of their home country. The program, and I don't speak Spanish, but you know I'll butcher this. My Sino tu voto, which translate my dream, your vote, was unveiled on Sunday. It uses stories about illegal alien children to motivate actual illegals to vote, portraying Donald Trump as a villain for putting the people of his nation first. Clinton, seemingly always with a lie hanging in the air, says the program is designed to motivate American Latinos. But if that were true, it would not be referencing dreamers and others who don't have a right to vote to be in our country. It would also likely be in English, as Americans of every variety generally speak our native tongue. The choice by George Soros of the particular illegal alien he's paying to run this election fraud operation on behalf of Hillary Clinton was an easy one. Astrid Silva already works for Soros, and she's done his bidding on a national scale as well. The 28-year-old did a Mexican version of Khizar Khan gig at the Democrat convention, similarly denouncing Donald Trump. She's already had an impact on our nation in the manner that so many of her fellow illegals have. She's taken a job that could have gone to an American piece of trash Marxist radical instead of a foreign one. In her press conference to announce their latest criminal enterprise, Silva acknowledged that young illegal squatters don't have right to vote, but she supposedly wants to help ensure that our stories are heard, and it will send a clear signal to Donald Trump that we cannot be silenced. It's worth noting that those young illegals of voting age do have the right to vote in the countries of their citizenship. Americans can't vote in Mexico or Honduras either. That's how the system is set up everywhere. All they need to do is return home and vote in their own elections. As for Donald Trump, she's already silenced. He doesn't want to hear anything from her until she's here legally. Back on the other side of the wall, Missy, come back when and if you've learned some respect for this nation. These cherry jobs can't be stolen by just any illegal. Mr. Soros and his lawless cohorts have high standards. The Washington Free Beacon reports that Silva is director of Progressives Leadership Alliance of Nevada, a social and environmental justice group that is already involved in a massive campaign to register 400,000 Hispanic voters for the November election. George Soros is funding Silva in that agitation effort as well. That Soros organization is titled Families Fight Back, in English apparently intended to intimidate the American nativists. In March of this year, when launching the Families Fight Back organization, Silva said, "We are very aware that every day our families are on the verge of being separated is a day that we have to fight for them. We need people to register to vote to become citizens. We want to make sure that the community understands their power, has access to the tools they need, and know their responsibility to our country needs to be met. The process, as Silva outlined, it is completely backwards. The becoming citizen part comes before the register and vote part if one is not attempting to steal the election. If she's engaging in election fraud, then she's got it exactly right. The Immigrant Voters Win PAC was created shortly after the founding of the first Families Fight Back campaign, with Soros and his commie comrades pledging $15 million in support. Soros has already contributed $3 million to the operation, with other anti-American liberals donating another $1 million. Is there anything the Democrats do which doesn't violate the law and rights of the American people? So there you have that one. It's going to be interesting to see how this campaign goes in the next couple months here. The next one is off of WND.com, and it says, "It's time to tell the judiciary to go to hell." It says, "Don't waste your tears at this point," says Conservative Review senior editor Daniel Horowitz. "The courts are already gone. This is like a wind-up toy. Every 4 years, Republicans dangle in front of us. Hey, you got to vote for us, otherwise we'll lose the courts," Horowitz said during a recent appearance on the Tom Rotten Morning Show. I'm here to tell you, we've lost the courts. They're gone, gone, gone. We do need a Republican Congress and administration, but for the purpose of stripping the courts of that power, giving back to Congress and the state legislatures. Horowitz pointed out things have gotten so bad, conservatives couldn't get a simpler voter ID law past the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, regarded as one of the least liberal courts. 10 of the 15 judges on the Fifth Circuit Court were appointed by Republican presidents. However, only 4 of the 13 circuit courts in the country currently have a majority of Republican appointees sitting on the bench. Many conservatives believe all they need to do is elect a Republican president who will appoint conservative judges to the federal courts. But Horowitz noted it would take many conservative years of Republican presidents hitting the mark appointments to finally turn the courts in more conservative direction. By that point, it may be too late. Horowitz noted the courts have been moving quickly in recent years. They have mandated states fund Planned Parenthood, mangled state religious liberty laws, made transgender people a protected class, forced states to give birth certificates to illegal aliens, and tossed out basic voter integrity laws. This all adds up to what Horowitz terms societal transformation without representation, which is the thesis of his new book, Stolen Sovereignty: How to Stop Unelected Judges from Transforming America. Horowitz said the late Justice Anton Scalia was correct when he predicted the theory of a living constitution would destroy the country and the federal courts. In Horowitz's view, when the judges usurp power that doesn't belong to them and they believe in a living constitution, it creates toxic mixture. It would be bad enough if they had power and they, in good faith, attempted to interpret the Constitution as originally adopted, Horowitz said, but it's worse than that. We've given them power of the sole and final arbiter, but at the same time, they believe the Constitution is unconstitutional. What in it is taken out, what's out is put in. He noted the practice of early voting was not widespread until recently, yet the Fourth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals just overturned North Carolina's attempt to shorten the early voting period, claiming the state intended to discriminate against racial minorities. The court also tossed out North Carolina's voter ID law and laws limiting same-day registration out of precinct voting and pre-registration. They basically say that any method or procedure that Democrat cohorts that will indicate there will be more black turnout, you have to adopt it, and if you don't, they'll force it, Horowitz explained. Who really rules America? Stand up against the unelected tyrants in black. Find out how in Stolen Sovereignty, How to Stop Unelected Judges from Transforming America. Available now at the WDN Superstore, it says. Not only are the courts becoming the sole and final arbiter of most important policy questions, thereby rendering elections moot, but they are preventing Republicans from winning elections by forcing states to adopt election laws that naturally favor Democrats. This is, well, it's got something trying to play here. Let me get this shut off. There. Okay. It says, this is worse than King George, Horowitz explained. He didn't have the power. I mean, he didn't get involved in the methods and procedures of elections for the colonial legislatures at all. They were fighting taxation without representation. We're fighting social transformation without representation. Horowitz said the circuit court ruling on North Carolina's election laws are emblematic of a larger problem. Federal courts are crushing the states, essentially forbidding them from governing themselves. At some point, states have to go, let me try that again. At some point, the states have got to just say no, he insisted. See, we're winning in the states. We have 32 governors. We control trifecta of governance, 2 branches of the legislature and the governor in 24 states. We have the potential to even grow from there, but we don't benefit from it because the feds are just crushing us. Horowitz said state legislatures have become a joke, with liberal special interest groups able to vault over their heads with help from federal courts. What do you think? What should be done to fix the U.S. judicial system? And then they want you to make comments in their poll. And the article says, we need to return state legislatures to the power they had in the founding, the power they were supposed to have. And it at least starts with getting unelected branch of the federal government out of our hair, he said. It's time to tell the judiciary to go to hell. In order to do that, we don't need a constitutional amendment, according to Horowitz. In fact, the idea that conservatives are the ones who need to change the Constitution is completely wrong-headed. Why should we have to amend it, Horowitz asked. The courts are the ones illegally amending it. He said the answer already lies in the Constitution, Article 3, Section 2 to be exact. That section allows Congress to restrict the jurisdiction of the federal courts. So rather than a Republican president or constitutional amendment, a congressional statute is all that's necessary to put the brakes on the judicial tyranny. I'm not saying to vote for Trump. I'm not saying it's not important to appoint better judges, but we don't need a Republican president to merely appoint better judges, the author said. We need a Republican president to sign legislation stripping the courts of this power they don't have to begin with. Horowitz ended with a call to action. We don't have to sit and take this social transformation anymore. This is our country. This is our Constitution. They have no right to change it. And let's go back to our first roots, our first principles. Let's take back our country from the unelected judges. And I thought that was extremely enlightening. And the more people that know about that, the better. So you need to share that around. The next one that we have here is off of the conservative firing line. Well, it's putting up ads here instead of giving me the article. There we go. Try that. I hate it when it does that. Okay, this is off the Milwaukee shooting. Curfew imposed in hopes of restoring calm, it says. Apparently, these aren't the droids you were looking for. Go back to sleep like a good little sheep. That's okay. We still have the video, it says. And there is a video of the fire and the destruction and everything that went on. So if you would like to see that one, right there it is for you. The lineup of the URLs in the description of the video below. The next one to work. Muslim Brotherhood terror-linked leader tells Muslims to change Sioux Falls, convert to non-Muslims. And there is a video in this one if you want to see it. I'm not going to play it because there's ads all over these things, and I don't want to get any copyright strikes, but it says, here it is. This is reality. Muslims are the first immigrant group to come to the West with ready-made model of society and governance that they believe superior to the Western secular pluralism. They're determined to replace the one with the other in whatever way possible. Brotherhood-linked leaders tells Muslims to change Sioux Falls, convert non-Muslims, posted on August the 16th, and convert them by the terms of, or by the tens of thousands. It says Jihad Qadar is also a key figure in the Syrian Muslim invasion of the U.S. And last year, the mosque he founded was caught inviting a Hamas-linked imam for Good Friday fundraiser. And it says causing fitna, who discovered the video above, has highlighted jihad support for the Muslim Brotherhood by a terror-tried group invades the U.S. Capitol again. The four-finger Muslim Brotherhood gang sign seen above in a picture. The Jihad Qadar is Muslim Brotherhood supporter, but he is also leader of Muslim American Society, a designated terror group in the UAE. The Global Muslim Brotherhood Daily Watch has exposed the Jihad Qatar's Muslim Brotherhood lineage as well. In addition to his role as an officer in the Muslim American Society, the part of the U.S. Muslim Brotherhood closest to the Egyptian organization, an individual with the last name Qatar, was listed on a spreadsheet from the internal U.S. Brotherhood document dated 12/18/88 that lists 15 last names in the U.S. Brotherhood Shura Council. We told you in March 2015 that Muslims were looking to grow in Sioux Falls. From the video above, it sounds like Jihad and his band of Muslims want Sioux Falls to become nearly completely Muslim, with an estimated population of 171,544. Reaches his goal, Muslims will be a majority in 10 years. South Dakota has already felt the Muslim impact, and then it has a link. South Dakota Muslim refugee gets life sentence for sex trafficking of teen girls, including a child. So you click on that and read more if you want to. Wow. Okay, and then we're going to move on to this one off Mad World News. And it says, as Muslim migrants marry kids, citizens ensure they won't get away with it. Muslim migrants are doing the unthinkable, marrying girls as young as 9 and saying it's their religious right. As the Muslim population grows, reports show that the number of brides under 16 has increased by 50%. This is plain child abuse, but luckily many people are now gathering together and fighting back to ensure these Islamists won't get away with their pedophilia. As Angela Merkel is more concerned about covering her own butt over the disaster of opening Germany's borders to over 850,000 Muslim migrants, it's no wonder that's exactly where these marriages with children are now happening the most. Girls as young as 9 years old have been caught up in this ridiculous practice where children are married off within Islam, and it's only come to light after counseling centers and social services have had to be alerted to the growing abuse. According to the Express, shocking figures reveal how underage girls are forced by imams to marry into marriages and disappear from schools because they have to do household chores for their mother-in-laws or even move abroad. Now many are left asking, how is this happening in a westernized country like Germany? What about German law? Forced marriages are supposed to be illegal in Angela Merkel's nation, but a loophole in the law means officials cannot interfere in religious marriages. Islam Sharia law is rife in Germany, and authorities are trying to deal with growing number of child brides brought into the country. Now the citizens are fed up after reports of sick sexual abuse, and the horrendous labor these girls must endure has come to light. A group of activists called Children on the Move Task Force was started by ordinary citizens volunteering their time to attack German law and help the girls escape their situations until that law is changed. The group is headed by Mark Dellert, who said, we are seeing that the number of children who are forcibly married is increasing enormously. Dellert further explained that a school teacher told him absentee rates were astronomically high, and there were frequent instances in which a girl, usually 13 to 15 years old, suddenly didn't come to school from one day to the next. Because of the vocal concern of citizens, the German government is looking at proposals to raise the minimum age for marriage in Germany to 18 without exception. That means no religion can cite their faith practices as a reason a 9-year-old girl must get married, and it's sure to leave devout Muslims furious. It's unbelievable the issues these European countries are faced with due to Merkel's open border policies, and the Americans need to take a good long look at Germany as an example of what not to do. Seeming to take a page straight out of Merkel's book, Hillary Clinton will increase Muslim migrants coming into the U.S. by 550% over Barack Obama's plan. So there you have that one. Wow. The next one we have here is off of Breitbart.com. Falls Muslim was used by media as example 2 months ago. A Muslim Twin Falls man arrested over the weekend and charged with sexually assaulting a mentally retarded woman was quoted by local media in June as representative of Muslims opposing bad things and bemoaning the fact that the picture of Muslims is getting worse. It says, as reported by Breitbart News yesterday, Mohammed Hussein Abrima El-Dai was arrested Saturday and charged Monday in an incident involving a mentally retarded woman. Court documents say El-Dai brought the woman to his house where he made her drink. She told police El-Dai touched her and exposed himself to her while he kept the victim in his bedroom. Police then made contact with El-Dai, who, according to court documents, admitted to touching and exposing himself to the victim. And we got something trying to play here. Let's see. And it's one of them where you can't shut the doggone thing off. Well, holy smoke. How do we get that to go away? Man, oh man. I hate it when they do that. And there doesn't seem to be no way to get them to stop. Good golly. Holy smoke. Now I've lost my page. Now I get my page back. Okay. Wow. I took a trip and didn't leave the farm. Wow. All right. Now it's all scrolled all over the place. Okay. Says police then made contact with El-Dai, who, according to court documents, admitted to touching and exposing himself to the victim with the intention of having intercourse with her. Officers placed him under arrest and transported him to the Twin Falls County Jail, where he is being held on $10,000 bond. His preliminary hearing is set for August 19th. On June the 14th, in the wake of the Orlando Pulse nightclub shooting, the deadliest Islamist terrorist incident on U.S. soil since 9/11, the very same TV station, KMVT, did a piece aiming to put good face on the local Muslim community. The TV segment and corresponding written piece titled, "We Do Not Agree with Those People Doing Bad Things," was an attempt to put positive spin on the local Muslim community. The segment showed an on-air interview with now jailed Mohammed Hussein Ibrahim El-Dai and quoted him saying, "These bad people, they do this stuff in the name of Islam, and Islam doesn't say it like that," said Mohammed Hussein Ibrahim El-Dai. Now the picture of Islam is getting worse because I don't know. I hope these people are going to give up, he says. The positive June piece about Muslims that quoted the now arrested El-Dai was hosted by reporter Amy Reed. Reed is the same reporter who was called out by Breitbart News for her dishonest reporting, branding those questioning the Muslim refugee influx as racist. Reporter Reed recently did a segment about the local activist supporting the American girl who was raped by 3 refugee boys in early June. Reed's story completely ignored the actual substance of the press conference that called on Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton to come to Twin Falls to see the impact of immigration to this local community themselves. Emails to TV station KMVT from Breitbart News about reporting in that story have received no response. Bad publicity resulting from jumped on me. Okay. The bad publicity resulting from these crimes by Muslims is something that the town's political leadership clearly wishes to avoid. Hang on, scrolling. Okay. Activists have accused local politicians of covering up the rape of the 5-year-old girl by the refugee boys. Tuesday, the mayor of Twin Falls turned down an interview requested by this reporter, aiming that the Breitbart News was anti-Muslim. Okay, well, the next one that we have here, of LinkedIn.com. Well, maybe it is. I thinking that, no, this is from that ad that I was trying to get rid of off the other page. Okay, well, we'll just get rid of you. All right. This is, let's see, this is off of PamelaGeller.com. It says California Muslims screaming Allah Akbar through bullhorn terrorized church during worship service. While Obama and in the media elites busy themselves spinning the tales of phantom Islamophobia, news stories like this never see the light of day. California Muslims screaming Allah Akbar through bullhorn terrorized church during worship service, August the 11th, 2016. Let's see, Father Joseph Tenaham mentioned intimidation to the parishioners of St. Andrew Orthodox Church, and he was quite right. Islamic supremacists and jihadists routinely traffic in intimidation. That's based on Quranic command, and prepare against them whatever you are able to, of power and of steeds of war, by which you may strike terror in the enemy of Allah and your enemy and others beside them, whom you do not know, whom Allah knows. When they practice this intimidation, they generally find Westerners, especially Christian leaders, unwilling and unable to do anything in response but submit to it. The Christians are anxious to show themselves to be charitable and loving to the Muslims, without realizing that as far as the Muslims are concerned, this equates to surrender. Hence, the many Christian leaders who counseled that the face of the jihad murder of the cartoonist of Muhammad, the charitable thing for Christians to do would be to accept the Sharia blaspheme restrictions on speech, at least regarding criticism of Muhammad. This is not to say that Christians shouldn't be charitable and loving, but sometimes the most charitable thing to do is to refuse to allow the intimidator victory for his intimidation. Giving in to intimidation only encourages more of it. Christians in the U.S. need to have public discussion of this point, since one thing is certain: there are going to be many, many more incidents like the one at St. Andrew's Orthodox Church. As Father Josiah Trenham prepared to read the gospel, several parishioners discreetly scooped up their babies, retreated up the aisle of St. Andrew Orthodox Church and out into the spring air, so as not to allow the crying of the little ones to disturb the divine liturgy. The time-honored tradition was shattered when a car passed the Riverside, California church, slowing down as the front passenger leaned out the window and bellowed menacingly through a bullhorn, according to witnesses. Allah Akbar, the unidentified man repeated several times as the unnerved parents drew their infants close and exchanged worried glances. Witnesses were able to give Riverside police a description of the green Honda Civic, but not of the three occupants. Some told police they believed one or more of the men may have been taking photographs, according to Officer Ryan Railsback, although Trenham insisted multiple congregants heard the Arabic phrase. Railsback noted no mention of it was in the police report. In admitting this, was the author of the police report running some politically correct interference for area Muslims? Whatever the case, no law was broken, even if an unmistakable message was sent and received. Be calm and to keep a special vigilance over the property and our children while we are at church, Trenham wrote in an email to parishioners in which he recounted the disturbing event. Pray that these provocative young men might repent of their intimidation and be saved. Trenham told FoxNews.com last week the situation remains tense and tenuous, and said the church now has security officers on hand for all regular services. It is a deep sorrow to live this way in the new America, he said. The incident took place on April 12th, some 4 months after the terror attacks left 14 dead in nearby San Bernardino, and just over 3 months before a French priest was killed by ISIS-linked jihadists in his church. The events, whether far or near, underscore a grim new reality for pastors such as Trenham Instead of offering sanctuary from evil, churches could, in fact, be attractive targets for terror. In February, Khalid Abdul Ryan, age 21, of Dearborn Heights, Michigan, was arrested after he told an undercover FBI agent he was preparing to shoot up a major church near his home on behalf of ISIS. A month earlier, the Reverend Roger Spradlin of Valley Baptist Church, one of the biggest congregations in Bakersfield, California, told attendees that they had received a threat written in Arabic. Undercover officers were then placed during worship services. Valley Baptist spokesman Dave Callahar said, "The FBI continues to investigate along with the local task force." Last September, an Islamic man clad in combat gear was charged with making terrorist threats after entering Corinth Missionary Baptist Church in Bullard, Texas, and claiming that God had instructed him to kill Christians and other infidels. A year earlier, police were called to St. Bartholomew's Catholic Church in Columbus, Indiana, after the house of worship was vandalized with the words infidels, along with Quranic verse sanctioning death for non-believers. Similar graffiti was found that same night as nearby Lakeview Church of Christ and East Columbus Christian Church. St. Bartholomew pastor Clem Davis said he doesn't know if the threat was legitimate, but said little can be done to harden a target whose mission is to welcome all. "I don't know that there is any real protection against the lone wolf mentality, not without infringing on everybody's freedoms," Davis said. "We don't have metal detectors. People go in and out. Churches are family-oriented, public, tech-supported spaces. So they may appeal to some as targets. Synagogues have faced increasing threats in recent years, too. Earlier this year, the FBI disrupted a plot by a Muslim convert to blow up the Adventura Turnberry Jewish Center in Adventura, Florida. A 2014 audit by the Anti-Defamation League, the ADL, found that anti-Semitic incidents rose 21% across the country that year. Eastern Orthodox Christians, who in many cases suffer persecution at the hands of radical Muslims in their Middle Eastern homelands, believe they may be singled out because of their heritage. Mass at St. Andrews typically attracts up to 400 worshipers with roots in Syria, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Russia, and Greece. We have guards now. We never used to have guards. St. Andrew attendee Solomon Sadi, a Syrian American Christian, they keep an eye on everyone and talk to the faces that aren't familiar, he continued, referring to the aftermath of the April incident. "It is a very dangerous time for us, even in America." Wow. So there you have a report on the churches being attacked. The next one is off of BizPac Review. University of Florida professor says, "If you say melting pot in my class, you might lose credit." Students enrolled in art appreciation at the University of Florida risk losing credit on assignments if they use the phrase melting pot in class. Professor Pamela Brecka told Campus Reform that she has reprimanded students for using the term, it's got something trying to play here. Good golly. Get that off of here. All right. Professor Pamela Brecka told Campus Reform that she has reprimanded students for using the term in the past and even withheld credit from those who used the phrase on assignments because, in her opinion, melting pot is a term that signals a Euro-white colonial standard, point blank, period. The course itself, entitled Art Appreciation, American Diversity, and Global Arts, fulfills UF's general education requirement for both the diversity category, which requires 3 credits for graduation, and the humanities category, which requires 9 credits. The course syllabus obtained by Campus Reform described the class as an introduction to the visual arts from a global perspective, with an emphasis on diversity in the United States, adding that this process we will assimilate and use disciplined, appropriate terms. However, Brecka claims that melting pot is not a discipline-appropriate term. On several outline course modules through which students submit assignments, a statement reads, "Do not ever use the phrase melting pot in this class. In this class, we celebrate diversity, not sameness." One student in the course, who wishes to remain anonymous, told Campus Reform that he noticed the warning and discussed it with friends who are also taking the course online for summer credit, reporting that I haven't been penalized personally because I kind of go with the flow, but I have talked to a friend and I'm pretty sure he has used some terms and I think he's been penalized. The student says being unable to use certain phrases changes the way I learn and makes him feel compelled to go with the bias system. Brecka told Campus Reform that she doesn't want students to use the phrase melting pot because it's not an accurate description of diversity in the United States, asserting that the reason we put less emphasis on the way cultural groups are alike is because of the historical disadvantages minorities have had compared to the white majority. She believes diversity in America can more accurately be described with a salad metaphor. It is the difference between soup and salad. In the salad, flavors remain distinct, she explained. Your romaine lettuce remains its flavor, the tomatoes retain their flavor, and so on. They are all living happily in one bowl. Brecka admitted that the past course she would deduct a partial point if student used melting pot in an assignment, although she also said it was not a strict policy. This statement to students is not on the syllabus, but rather in the introductory materials for the class. She elaborated, this statement is not keyed to any assignment or rubric. It is not my strict policy to deduct points for the use of this term. Campus Reform, however, obtained screenshots from multiple online assignments that include warning against using the phrase melting pot, and they've got a whole list of them here. For an example, it says, do this Sunday, contribute to the Module 7 focus discussion and reply on the post of at least 2 of your peers by the due date listed in the syllabus tool. And if you click on syllabus tool, it gives you that. And I mean, you know, there's a whole list of these things. It says, Brecka contends that banning students from using certain words or phrases was never an attempt to suppress speech. I welcome open debate in all my classes. When Campus Reform asked the anonymous student if he felt that Brecka's rhetorical restrictions diminished his ability to express certain opinions, he responded yes. And it's not even just about melting pot, it's about how she asked these questions in a certain way so that we can only answer them a certain way. There's a left-wing bias, he continued. If she said she doesn't want people complaining because they can't say certain things, she should have asked these questions in a more broad way so everyone can answer how they actually feel and not how she wants us to feel. Screenshots showed that the students in the course were required to respond to questions that asserted architectural design has been dominated by men in order to promote a social political order dominated by men. And Native American art reflects the special history of Native Americans and their relationship with the dominant white authority. And they've got examples of that. And it says, Campus Reform also reached out to University of Florida for comment and spoke to Janine Sykes, Assistant Vice President of Media Relations and Public Affairs, who contended that Brecka hasn't spoken to anyone regarding concerns about the banning of melting pot in the course. However, Brecka herself told Campus Reform that several students in the past have expressed concerns about not being able to use melting pot, adding that they usually understand and don't use it again after the explanation. A diversity statement for the course, though, reveals that melting pot is far from the only locution that the students must be wary of in Brecka's class, providing an exhaustive list of demographic groups that students are expected to embrace because they contribute to diversity. We in this class support and promote diversity in race, veteran status, parental status, marital status, socioeconomic level, national origin, religious belief, physical ability, sexual orientation, gender, gender identification, cultural, ethnic identification, age, and political ideology, the Declaration asserts. According to the anonymous student, one category that the course overlooks completely is diversity of political ideology, on which matter they simply expect to conform with breakfast positions. It's almost as if the question, how they're worded, you can only answer them this one certain left-wing way, he ventured. It was not a college level course because we didn't get a lot of the information. So there is another example of the indoctrination of the school system in one of the universities. This is off of Gateway Pundit. It says, no apology from Walmart after police officer in uniform refused service by clerks. St. Cloud, Florida Police Department has filed a formal complaint with Walmart after a police officer in uniform was refused service by two clerks working at the Walmart store in St. Cloud. The incident was reported by Central Florida TV news outlet WFTV, which got confirmation from Walmart and police that a clerk refused to ring up the officer's purchases by pointing at the clerk's skin color. Fellow clerk laughed and also did not help the officer. Incredibly, Walmart's corporate office confirmed the incident, but did not issue an apology. And then in quotes it says, Eyewitness News confirmed the officer walked into Walmart on 13th Street, grabbed what he needed and headed for the checkout. The officer told a friend, the cashier pointed to her skin color and told them she wouldn't ring up his items. The officer told that friend, a second employee, laughed at the way the officer was treated. Walmart and police confirmed the incident to Channel 9. And it says WFTV reporter Field Sutton contacted Walmart's corporate office to comment on the incident, but was told, this is an unfortunate situation, but we cannot comment on active HR investigation. No apology, no commitment by Walmart that police officers are welcome to shop at Walmart. The St. Cloud Police Department issued a statement on the Walmart incident announcing a formal complaint had been filed with Walmart. In response to local inquiries concerning the allegation where an employee of Walmart refused to serve a St. Cloud police officer, a formal complaint has been filed with Walmart's corporate office. The St. Cloud Police Department trusts that Walmart will handle the situation properly. The St. Cloud Police Department is grateful for the support from our community, and we encourage our citizens to come by the St. Cloud Police Department to pick up their free Back the Blue bumper sticker to show their support of law enforcement instead of participating in community protests. I was just shocked when I read that one. Now, here's another one that'll shock you. This is off of MSN.com. Father utterly terrified after trooper points gun at his 7-year-old during a traffic stop. At first, Kenneth Walton thought the Arizona State Trooper following him and his 7-year-old daughter wanted to warn him of a broken taillight. They were in a rental car on a stretch of Interstate 40 between Las Vegas and Flagstaff, Arizona, on what was supposed to be a fun Grand Canyon vacation. It was dark and Walton knew he hadn't been speeding, so not thinking much of it, he pulled over on an off-ramp, rolled down his driver's side window, and waited. That's when things went terribly awry, according to the San Francisco man's account of what happened last Thursday. Tonight, I was arrested at gunpoint by an Arizona Highway Patrol officer who threatened to shoot me in the back twice in front of my 7-year-old daughter, Walton wrote on Facebook hours after the incident. For a moment, I was certain he was going to kill me for no reason. I'm alive, and I need to share the story. His post, published early Friday morning and updated throughout the weekend, went viral, serving as lightning rod for discussions about what is appropriate during interactions with law enforcement. The Arizona Department of Public Safety confirmed that the traffic stop took place, but disputed the tone and some of the details in Walton's Facebook post, calling it inflammatory and irresponsible. The department is standing by the trooper's actions, including his threat to shoot Walton during the traffic stop, said Captain Damon Cecil of Arizona Department of Public Safety. We sympathize with them. I don't think there's any law enforcement official who would not be just as angry, just as fearful and terrorized if they were in a similar situation and an officer had guns pointed out, Cecil told the Washington Post. It's a scary situation, but in light of that, this is a positive story. This case is a prime example of how things should be done. According to the DPS, the traffic stop occurred around 7:43 p.m. on August 11th, after the license plate on Walton's rental car came up as stolen. The trooper requested backup and followed the rental car on Interstate 40 until it exited the highway. The trooper then approached the car with his gun drawn. Actions the department said are appropriate for anything considered a high-risk traffic stop when serious crimes or hazardous conditions may exist. Initially, the driver, identified as Kenneth Walton, was not responding to officers' commands while seated in his vehicle, so the trooper moved up to the passenger side window and got the occupant's attention by tapping on the window with his hand, DPS said in its short statement. It was at this time the trooper realized there was a child in the car as she sat up into view. Mr. Walton was ordered out of the car and detained in handcuffs while the trooper conducted his investigation. The trooper, identified as Otten Villegas, has been with the DPS since 2009, the department said. Villegas has not had major disciplinary actions. In 2013, he was named along with several other officers in a civil rights lawsuit that was settled and dismissed without prejudice, Cecil said. According to Walton, however, the department's account is inaccurate. He says the first command came when the trooper tapped on the front passenger window, gun in hand, not before. In addition, Walton said his daughter was sitting in a booster seat in the rear passenger side of the vehicle, not in the front, and was in view, not crouched or reclined the entire time. Walton said the DPS statement omitted or downplayed details about how the incident unfolded, including how the trooper, referred by Walton as an officer, interacted with his young daughter. In his paragraphs-long Facebook post, Walton recounted trying to stay calm while the trooper reportedly escalated the situation. Suddenly, the officer rapped on the rear passenger side window with his pistol. My daughter, who was sitting inches from the barrel of his gun, jumped with fear as the officer yelled at me to roll down the front passenger window. His service weapon pointed directly at me. I knew something was terribly awry, and I tried to remain calm, keeping my hands visible as I slowly fumbled for the window controls in an unfamiliar car. My daughter rolled down her window, and I explained that we were in a rental car, that we had no weapons, and I was having trouble figuring out how to roll down the front passenger window from my driver's side door. The officer didn't listen and kept yelling louder and more insistently, ordering me to comply with his request as he leered at me down the barrel of his pistol. My daughter panicked and tried to get out of the booster seat to reach forward and roll down the front window, and the officer screamed at her not to move as he pointed his pistol at her. Walton said he was somehow able to roll the passenger window down, at which point the trooper ordered him to exit the car with his hands up. As he did so, Walton said the trooper came over to the driver's side of the car and screamed at him to face the other direction. Then, as I had my hands in the air, he yelled at the top of his lungs in a voice I will never forget, as my daughter looked on in terror. Get your hands away from your waist or I'll blow 2 holes through your back right now. My hands were high in the air as he said this, and I was not in any way reaching for my waist. I was utterly terrified. I've heard stories of police yelling out false things like this before. They unjustly attack someone as a way to justify the attack, and I thought this was what was happening to me. I braced for bullets to hit me, and all I could think of was my daughter having to watch it happen and being left alone on the side of the highway with an insane, violent cop. Walton said he got down on to his knees and back gradually toward the trooper, following every order as slowly and deliberately as possible. He was handcuffed and placed in the back of the trooper's car while more law enforcement arrived soon afterwards. His daughter remained in the rental vehicle, frightened and still strapped to her booster seat, he said. Cecil said it was appropriate for Villegas to have escalated the traffic stop given the circumstances. Our trooper had a set of facts in front of him and responded the way he was trained, the way that was safest for him and his public, Cecil said. Putting yourself in the trooper's position, he's giving commands, he's yelling, he's not getting a response. Should he have de-escalated in yelling, or should he escalate? You weren't there and I wasn't there. Cecil confirmed that Villegas pointed a gun at the 7-year-old, but did so unintentionally, and that he threatened to shoot Walton because he perceived a threat. We're not disputing that our trooper said those things, Cecil said. He absolutely did. Walton initially said on Facebook that dashboard camera footage would bear out his account of the traffic stop because he was under the impression all Arizona law enforcement officers had dashboard or body cameras. DPS told the Post there is no dashboard or body camera footage available from the incident, nor is the agency aware of any amateur video taken at the scene, only audio from the trooper's vehicle before he walked to Walton's car and after he returned with Walton in custody. According to DPS, an investigation ultimately found the rental car company had not replaced the license plates when the front plate was reported stolen, which is why it had been flagged in the system. To complicate matters, Fox Rent-A-Car said the license plate number in question should have never been placed in the stolen plates database in the first place. The rental car, a 2015 Nissan Altima, was registered in Arizona, which only issues rear plates, according to Fox Rent-A-Car Chief Operating Officer Sean Busking. Last November, the car was reported stolen in California, Busking said. 5 days later, the Oakland Police Department recovered the vehicle along with its one and only rear plate and cleared it to return to the rental fleet, he said. Oakland's police department must have been unaware that Arizona does not issue front license plates when they issued their stolen plate report, Busking told the Post. However, we are surprised that the Arizona Department of Public Safety would suggest that Fox is somehow responsible for replacing a front Arizona plate that never existed. Regardless, Walton and his daughter were released that night without a citation. Unfortunately, the subject in this case was a complaint with the trooper, and the situation ended peacefully with no one being harmed, Flagstaff District Commander Captain Ezekiel Ziesiger said in a statement. Walton disagreed, saying the trooper's aggressive arrest had left both of them physically unharmed but emotionally shaken. In the process of scaring me, he basically traumatized my daughter, Walton told the Post. That's sad because we've taught her that a police officer is who you go to. That's who you always trust. That's something we would still like to instill in her, but I don't know how we'll do that now. In his Facebook post, Walton said he believed the traffic stop might have ended differently had he not been a scrawny 48-year-old white guy wearing a Mickey Mouse t-shirt, cargo shorts, and hiking boots as he was at the time. If you are a person who has ever looked skeptically at the claims of Black Lives Matter or others who talk about police violence, I urge you to consider what happened to me and put yourselves in the shoes of others. I just survived a bizarre gunpoint situation in which I was innocent as Philandro Castile, who was not as lucky as I was. We live in a society where anywhere and anyone can have a gun at any time, and police are responding with fear in dangerous ways. I got lucky tonight. My daughter and I made it to the Grand Canyon, and I'm going to try to salvage what's left of our vacation. Many others, because of their color of their skin or the way they look or because of simple bad luck, did not meet the same fate. DPS took umbrage to this, or to the point in particular, the insinuation that race played a part, Cecil said. Walton has an opportunity as a parent to use this as a learning experience, a teachable moment for his daughter, a valuable lesson about the community and interactions with law enforcement, Cecil said, but instead he chose to make it a negative and very irresponsible way. Walton said he has no intention of inciting anyone, he said, or of being representative of any movement. It was the first time in my life when I had been approached by an officer with presumption of guilt, and I guess I got a taste of what it's like, Walton told the Post. I had a realization as a middle-aged white male for what it may be like out there. If this is the sort of aggression people face out there, I can understand why there's problems. Reached by phone on Tuesday while he was on the way back from his vacation, Walton said he was still shaken but considering taking his Facebook post down because of all the attention he received. Some commenters were sympathetic while others attacked his credibility, calling out his involvement in 1999 eBay art forgery scandal, something Walton said he has never tried to hide. I cooperated with authorities, pled guilty, served 9 months of probation, and took responsibility for my actions. He wrote in an update to Facebook post over the weekend, I make no excuses for it. If you think that has anything to do with this, there is nothing I can do to change your mind. This latest incident comes from following nationwide unrest after deadly shootings by police officers in Milwaukee, Falcon Heights, Minnesota, and Baton Rouge that resulted in fatal encounters. So far, more than 250 people have been shot and killed by police officers in the first 3 months of 2016, according to the Washington Post database on police shootings. Walton and his daughter eventually made their way the next day to the Grand Canyon, the first time for both of them, and tried in vain to shake what had occurred on the highway. I was pretty distracted over the next couple of days at the Grand Canyon thinking about what happened, Walton told the Post. Things will get back to normal eventually. Cecil said DPS has not received any formal complaint from Walton. The department, he added, has not been in direct contact with Walton since the traffic stop. Absolutely not, Cecil said. This is not a situation where we feel that we need to reach out to him. He's the one who started this negative relationship and negative communication. And there you have it. And I read this last night and I tried, putting myself in his shoes. Can you imagine you're in a rental car on vacation, you got your kid in the back seat, strapped in, you're having a good time, you're pulled over by the cops, he approaches you with a gun and is screaming at you, scares your kid half to death, you can't get him to calm down, and you're trying to figure out how to operate this rental car. I mean, I've been in rental cars where you can't figure out, the buttons, you're not used to it and stuff. You're worried about your kid, and they're treating you like, you just robbed a Brinks truck and threatening to shoot you in the back and everything else. Wow. I can't even imagine. And I can't blame him for taking it viral. I mean, where is it that we're presumed guilty until we're proven innocent? I thought that it was the other way around. And I can understand the cop wanting to protect himself and not get into any harm, but wow, scaring a little kid half to death and threatening to shoot somebody in the back, I think is a bit far, but that's just me. Your mileage may vary. And the last one that I have for you, here's your feel good. This is off of gmayahoo.com, and it says, how far can you get on kindness? Man traveling the world on goodwill. Leon Logatis is on a mission, riding his yellow motorcycle, which he calls Kindness One. He is attempting to travel around the world on nothing but kindness of strangers. No money, no food, nowhere to stay. Logatis is counting on the generosity of human spirit to keep him going. It's all about inspiring other people and being inspired myself, Logatis said of his passion project today on Good Morning America. Learn, let's see, it's got another link. It says, learn more about Leon Logatis on Kindness One. And then the article goes on and says, so far, he's met with success. In Las Vegas, family gave him food and a place to sleep. In Nebraska, cowboys let him stay with them on their ranch. The American people have been absolutely fantastic, Logatis said. And in Pittsburgh, after a dozen people turned him down, Logatis met Tony, a homeless man who shared his food and offered to let Logatis sleep with him in a debilitated garage. It was so inspiring, so humbling for me, Logatis said. The people in Pittsburgh hadn't really helped, and he offered me a place to stay. He gave me food, he gave me some clothes, and he inspired me. So just how far can kindness get you? Logatis is determined to find out. I used to be a broker in London, sitting behind a desk working 12 hours a day, and it wasn't for me, he explained. Then I went and traveled the world and connected with people, and that's what it's all about. That's where the magic is. Connection heart to heart. On his his blog, I think it means on his blog, Logan said he'll board a ship from New York to Europe, adding he'll do so as non-paying passenger. Kindness rocks. He also lists a tentative itinerary that would see him traveling to France, Italy, Croatia, Montenegro, Greece, Istanbul, India, Bhutan, Cambodia, and Vietnam, among other countries. His journey will be filmed for a TV show. The trip also serves to raise awareness about and raise funds for Make-A-Wish International. So there you go. He's doing something for charity and kindness of other people. And I read this and I wondered, how many people that, oh, we'll just narrow it down. We'll say how many people that listen to this broadcast. If you were approached by somebody that needed food or needed a place to sleep, would help. I'm hoping everybody, but I don't know. It's something to think about. You don't even need to know if they're doing something for charity. If you see somebody in need and you are capable of doing something nice for them, do something nice for them. It's not going to hurt you. And it might even make you feel good. So with that, we're going to close down the broadcast for today, and I'm going to wish everybody well, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Get out and enjoy this weather. This is absolutely gorgeous weather here in Indiana today. Get out, kick your shoes off, stick your feet down in the grass, good, ground yourself, take a breath of fresh air, and just relax. With that, we'll see you tomorrow at noon. Have a wonderful day.